Hello, listeners. Welcome back to Epochal Growth. I'm Sarah Caminiti, and I am so happy that you're here. If you're new to Epochal Growth, this is a podcast where we dive into transformative stories and insightful conversations with leaders from all industries. And today, I am thrilled to be joined by Cheryl Spriggs. Cheryl's the manager of Premier Support at Zapier. Cheryl's had an incredible journey from navigating startups to thriving in a remote-first environment. She's going to share her thoughts on leadership, overcoming imposter syndrome, and how embracing neurodiversity has impacted her leadership style. Stay tuned for a conversation filled with powerful lessons on empowerment, growth, and finding confidence in the face of challenges. And before we dive into this episode, did you know that you're listening to one of the last 5 episodes of Season 1 of Epochal Growth? It has been such an amazing journey, and I want to thank you for being part of it. We're already gearing up for next season. It's going to be coming around Q2 of 2025. There's going to be some exciting changes, and I am really excited to share them with you. The best way to be the first ones to know is to follow me on LinkedIn. You can easily find me by searching for Sarah Caminiti. You can also find me in the Elevate CX Slack community if you have any questions or comments or you just want to say hi. Stay tuned, and let's finish this season strong.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Spriggs. I am based in Denver, Colorado. So happy to be here today. My role currently is manager of Premier Support at Zapier, which is a no-code, low-code automation platform. And I've been there for just over 3 years now, which is super exciting. This job is all remote and allowed me to move from Austin, Texas to Denver, Colorado area, which is super awesome to kind of live my dreams out near the mountains, which I really love camping and hiking and just getting outdoors. I'm an avid runner. I picked up skiing this winter, which is super cool. So I'm just fully immersed into living that Colorado lifestyle, which is super cool. But so, and you can usually find me at a local brewery, which there are a million here. So love craft beer.
That's awesome. Oh my goodness. I didn't realize that you just moved up to Denver. That is a totally different vibe, I'm sure, than Austin, but it sounds like it was exactly what you needed.
Yeah. I mean, we are spending thousands of dollars coming up here 1 to 2 times a year to come off-road and vacation. And now I can just pop off of work a little early on a Friday and go camping for the weekend, in a really cool forest surrounded by mountains. So yeah, it's the dream.
Oh, I'm so glad. That's so awesome. So Cheryl, one of the things that I was super excited to talk to you about here is, your career trajectory and earning, feeling like you've earned the right to really own your skills and everything that you worked so hard for. And I know that, I know myself, it has been a journey to get to that point of that empowered feeling of, I know my stuff and I am proud and confident about this, but I know that especially for women, it can be a struggle. And in tech too, it's a male dominated space and there's so many different big names that come into play and people and all sorts of different layers of things. So I'm really curious to hear about your career journey and your kind of journey to being so empowered with what you're great at.
Yeah, I would say, so a little bit about my background. So I've been in the tech space probably about 10-ish years in customer support, and definitely kicked off by working at startups in Austin. That was the whole reason why I moved there to begin with, because there was just so many different opportunities. And I was just back in the day, I was just a lovely little specialist at the Apple Store. So that kind of got me into tech, which actually my degree's in theater, so nothing to do with what I'm doing now. But so I went to all of these different startups around Austin where they were really small companies, smaller teams. And some of the teams that I worked on, there was maybe me as the only woman, or there were a couple of us as women at these startups too. So very different navigating around like the dynamics of these small teams. And I had always been an individual contributor until at my last company, my previous manager left, and I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to go into people management. So I kind of put like a pin in that, but started acting as the interim customer support manager anyway. So I was like, all right, let's embrace this. Like, I like mentoring and coaching people. So I became like the head of support there. And I was one of two female leaders at that company. So
Wow.
it felt like I had a seat at the big boys table, kind of, if that makes sense. Because the rest of
definitely.
the leaders and like the co-founders, they were all men. And I was a little intimidated by that. And like, I remember actually one of my employees was the first woman at the company to go on maternity leave. So we had to create maternity leave policies and such because no one else had a child yet at this company that wasn't the co-founders who could just, I feel like they made up their own rules potentially back when they had kids, when the company had first started. So yeah. So that was very like different to navigate through and like actually be the person to manage and like ensure that they were prepared to go on leave as well.
Sure.
But yeah, so I feel like I've learned to really believe in myself, like kind of going back to that thing of like, oh, I don't want to become the head of support here. Like, I don't think I could do a good job. Like, could I make these decisions? Like, I just had to jump into it and really believe in myself and try things out and see if it worked. And learn along the way too, because like I wasn't going to be perfect. So I think that's kind of what really got me going into like being in leadership as well. But I feel like that took a completely different turn in like how I recognized my work when I got diagnosed with like ADHD and anxiety too.
I bet it must have been like one of those moments of true reflection and also connecting a lot of dots to how you approach things and feeling maybe like you do it differently and now you know why you do it differently and how you interact with people and validating those feelings that maybe were really aiding that whole like imposter syndrome that was creeping up on you before when you were hesitant to take that leadership position.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think one of the biggest takeaways I learned from having ADHD as well is like why I procrastinate, why I work under deadlines and such like that. Like I did that in school all the time. I mean, I don't know how I did it and how I survived off little sleep and drank coffee at 10 p.m. and things like that. Or I could drink coffee and then just go to bed. Like it just didn't make sense. But like writing papers or studying for tests like the day before they were due.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I sometimes see that translate. I mean, more than sometimes see that translate in my professional career of like, all right, the due date's tomorrow. I'm going to finally have this done today or, before tomorrow. So it just happens. But also like, I recognize that that's just sometimes how I could get some best work done as well, depending on what the task is though.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand what you're saying there because there's a level of efficiency that you must have developed over the years in order to have survived. And there's like a high that you kind of get out of that like last minute prep to like really crunch it out, but make it as perfect as possible. Because most of the time that stuff's living in your brain already because you've been thinking about it and it's been like weighing on you because you know that you have to do it. It's just a matter of throwing it all into something that is the actual product that you're supposed to be working on.
Yeah. And that actually ties back to like my confidence too of like, perfecting a specific task or like a project is like, I definitely have that like perfectionism gene or personality, which sometimes I really have to like put the brakes on and like, all right, let's just ship this like first version or this draft and like be transparent about what I'm working on and like get help when I need it instead of like hiding it and like waiting for it to be 100% perfect. That's something I've had to recognize and didn't realize that I was doing before I like went down this like journey of ADHD as well, that I was such a perfectionist.
Oh my gosh, I feel that so much. I've realized with myself is I need to be confident that I'm making the right choice and research and research and research and research. And what has helped me, because I mean, I'm never going to be somebody that is okay with that, like leaving something knowing that it's not complete or that it's not like thoroughly addressed. And what has helped me has been having, just like you said, having that first iteration, that first draft go out, but then it's already a planned thing to move into the next round. Or you take like a 2-week break and work on a couple of low hanging fruit things, but you already have the plan to get another 6 weeks of time to really look into this other section that you discovered when you were digging into it. So acknowledging that this is phase 1, using that as an opportunity to like learn from phase 1, and then still give yourself that space and time and allowance, or your team that space, time, and allowance to really commit to doing it well the first time.
Totally. Like, I think some of the pieces that come from that are like, do I actually have this knowledge, or can I actually do this? Like that real feeling of imposter syndrome. 'Cause I think it creeps up any time, you know, you could be 1 week into a new role, or you could be many years into an existing role and really like questioning, can I actually do this? And like that little, I don't know, devil on your shoulder saying like,
Yes.
you can't, but then you really need to like get through that other side or lean on people you trust to tell you, you can do this and get that validation.
Yeah.
That's something that I've recognized like I need in work and in my personal life, is like people to be that cheerleader for me.
Yes. Yeah. I was actually just having a conversation with my husband about this the other day, because it's great to have a partner that is like a devil's advocate and ask those hard questions, but also acknowledge that I'm asking myself those hard questions and I'm obsessing over those hard questions like all the time. And it is like the all consuming thing of what I'm thinking about for whatever the situation may be, and trying to come up with a strategy or a Venn diagram or a pro and con list in my head. And what I really need is someone to just keep snapping me out of that, of being that cheerleader, to be like, no, no, this is good. This is good. That's just a small thing. That's a small piece of a big puzzle. And those other pieces are great. And I'm glad that you were able to recognize that too, and find a space where you feel safe enough at work and in your personal life to acknowledge that and voice that, because sometimes that's half the battle.
Oh yeah, totally. It comes in waves, you know, like especially if you're handed something, like right now I'm being handed where like the expectation is for me to take over this new program by the end of this quarter. And I'm a little new to it, and it's a new program, and I'm like, all right, how do I get started? Like, they're trusting me to do this? Like, what? Why? Is there something that I brought to the table that they see that I could like change or improve? Or I don't know, I'm like questioning like, why me? Like, but I have to like think back of like, oh, well, this is a safe space to like innovate and like create new processes and be more creative. as well. So that's what I have to tell myself of like, this is a cool opportunity to learn and grow. Even if there are things that I'm going to learn along the way, like that's going to be a great experience overall.
Yeah, congratulations. That's fantastic that they're trusting you with this new project and reminding yourself that they saw something that made them say, like, without a doubt, we know that Cheryl is capable of this, because when you work in a company that's as large, especially as the one that you work for, there are plenty of people that I'm sure that they considered or thought about or could have given this to, but they picked you, and that's very validating, and that's really exciting and a proud thing for you to kind of just sit with for a second. So that's awesome. I'm so happy for you.
Yeah, and thank you. It feels nice, like talking about it, like, and like, yeah, the validation piece, because I think it has been stirring in my head, of like, am I gonna mess this up? Am I gonna be okay? I think that's something that I totally have, this complete like fear of failure, and I think a lot of folks do. And giving people the space to make mistakes is like something I really treasure in, like working with others and relationships too. Like,
Definitely.
nothing's ever going to be perfect.
Definitely. Do you find yourself being more of a you create these incredible spaces for the people that are around you, and then you don't allow yourself to enjoy them? Like,
Oh, 100%. Yes. I have a really good example of this that just happened recently. That I just totally, I did not give myself the grace that I thought, like, that I would actually give someone else. Like, I did not put myself in like someone else's shoes. So one of the things about working at a global company is that they're just like, time zones are my biggest enemy. Like,
yes.
I cannot figure out time zones for the life of me. I don't think I have. Like, I don't know. So,
No.
anyways, I was putting on an event actually for the Empower Employee Resource Group that I'm a part of, that probably talk about later. And this is like our Women of Zapier employee resource group. And I scheduled this event with like an external speaker, like a coach, a coaching session. And I had the event in Google Calendar. I was promoting it, all these things with my other committee leads. And we're all trying to get on the Zoom link or the attendance link. And we're like, why can't we join? Turns out I scheduled it for the wrong time. I scheduled it for like 3 p.m. Mountain. And I go back to the original messaging with like the facilitator, and it was like 4 p.m. Pacific. And I was like, oh, that is 5 p.m. Mountain, not 3 p.m. Mountain time. And I just absolutely was so angry at myself. I was like, how could you do this? How could you let down these people? Like, I was really excited. We had like, many people in attendance, and, it was just something. And a colleague of mine was like, it's totally okay. Like, mistakes happen. It's totally human. But like, would you like give yourself the same grace you would if, like, what if one of your team members was scheduling this meeting and it was at a completely different time? Like,
Right.
would you be reprimanding them like you are yourself? I'm like,
Right.
no, I would not be. I'd be like, mistakes happen.
Yeah.
But I was totally taking it down on myself because I'm my worst critic,
Yeah. Oh, that was such a perfect example. And holy cow, do I feel you with the time zone stuff. I do not know how to operate understanding all of the time zones. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that is just a thing that exists to torment me, I swear. I would have probably done the exact same thing and scheduled it at the wrong time. And I'm sure most of the people that were in attendance have scheduled things at the wrong time at some point, and they didn't bat an eye. But I feel ya. I feel you. I'm sure it was something that you beat yourself up about for a long time. And then finally, I hope you were able to see that in the grand scheme of things, it is what it is. It's done.
Yeah.
It's how you decide to move forward, but then also like maybe you put in place like some sort of preventative measure or policy for future events where you have like a triple check on all of these things before you send things out. And it's those things that you never think are going to end up causing a ripple in what you're trying to do that force you to make policies and procedures and have those conversations. But those conversations sometimes turn out to be really cool when those mistakes happen, because you're able to be really analytical and understand the root cause, which usually has nothing to do with you. I mean, just life, humans.
Mm-hmm. Oh, totally. Yeah. Yeah, so we'll see how the next event plans out, but there will be triple checking in time zones, and I think it's like worldtimebuddy.com. I pull up all the time to be scheduling things with my, I'm like, what city are you in? And like trying to match up the times that website is a gem.
I need to find that website. Usually I Google, what time is it in Madrid right now? What time is it in blah, blah, blah right now? And then I end up going down a rabbit hole, trying to do like planning for like days in advance. And then I just end up getting really confused and just asking them to give me a difference in times by hours between me and them. And I'll just keep going. It's just terrible.
Don't even get me started on like someone trying to say time in UTC. I'm like, no, just give me Eastern or something. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Once you start throwing those three letters after it that are not EST, MST, or PST, I'm gone. Right. Totally gone.
Same.
At least we're not alone. Now, you touched upon this a little bit earlier, and it was something that I really loved that you said, and I wanted to ask you about it. But when you worked in startups, when many of us have spent time in startups, you do have to create policies and really like impactful policies when they just show up, like a maternity leave, and how that must have been for you as a woman who was in a leadership position there now, and it was a new. I mean, you sound like you've been there for years and years and years and years and years in a leadership position, and if it was a male dominated space as well, like. How was it having to have those kind of truly like intense discussions about the realities of maternity leave and the policies and what that says about the company with men?
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest things that I saw was actually the return to work. And this was before COVID, so we were not a remote company. We could work remote from home, like, when it made sense, things like that. But it was definitely like a come to the office type of workplace. And my employee wanted to come back part-time and remote. And so there was just like this lack of trust from the leaders, like the male leadership. They were like, I've had a kid, like, you're not really going to be working, like, especially if you're remote. Like, I don't see the productivity being the best use of time. Like, you're not going to be able to actually be at 100% or whatever productivity. So it was like really discouraging to see like the lack of trust that they had in women returning to work and men returning to work. Actually, I did see there was another colleague of mine who was male and had a child, and like was expected to come back in the office like 2 weeks after born. So and I'm pretty sure he lived so close to our office too. I was like, why can't he just like bounce between, like, show face but be at home? Like, best of both worlds. Anyways, so there's just like this lack of trust, which is like the number one essential thing you need to have in your team is trust. And setting them up for success, especially someone who is a first-time parent, which was the case for both of my colleagues. And yeah, I mean, ultimately, it led her to leaving the company and going to another place that probably respected her time and productivity and like respected that she was a parent and had family responsibilities and that life is not just about showing up to work. So that was really hard to support, and like having to like, I don't know, have these essentially had to allow her to be like hourly instead of a salaried employee coming back part-time. So it was tough.
Hey listeners, are you looking for fresh insights on the latest in tech and customer experience? Then I have the best podcast for you. Tune in to Support Human, the podcast hosted by Steph Lundberg. Yes, the art of being dead inside Steph Lundberg, a seasoned support leader, a writer, and a very, very dear friend. Each episode dives into tech accountability, CX trends, and even features Bad Job Bingo, the only game where companies hope to lose. Whether you're a tech enthusiast or just curious, Support Human keeps you informed with wit and wisdom. Check it out at supporthuman.cx and stay ahead of the curve. You can listen to Support Human the podcast wherever you get your podcasts, but also make sure you're checking out supporthuman.cx to find more information about Steph, the newsletter, Bad Job Bingo, and awesome content that she creates. Don't sit on this. Stay ahead of the curve. Follow Support Human. I wish I could say that I'm surprised. Like, I've heard this so many times, and it's such a... What's always the most disappointing for me when I think about these things, and I'd love to hear your take on it too, is it's just like you had this really cool opportunity to show your employees that this is a special place. Like, we really do want you to be successful, and that means we want you to be successful outside of work too. And instead, they decided to go with old school mentality, lack of trust without any receipts to back it up. And instead of like just being excited for this person that is working with you to help you build this company that you are the founder of, it's just such a missed opportunity, and it's infuriating. How did it feel for you to have to like mentally like really process what this all meant and your place in it all?
I think I was disappointed because I was really looking forward to her contributing and like feeling a part of like we can continue being successful, but instead it was like, all right, I'm just clocking in my hours to get my work done. Oh, and then shortly after COVID happened, so we were all remote anyways. Puts the cherry on top of it.
Isn't that fun? Amazing how that all works out. And honestly, too, it's just like, so what if your employee is not giving 100% right after they go on leave? Like when they come back from leave, like, did they personally give 100% after their first child was born? Probably not. Or they, it's just like, be realistic of who humans are and how we operate, and know that we're all just doing our best and can do what you have to do to support it. It's just, dang. But that kind of leads me into the next thing that I did want to ask you about, which is about empowerment. I mean, and we kind of touched upon it earlier, and being in positions like that and having to be the reality check, but also a human to make your employees feel supported. And then in your new company where you are now at Zapier, like having to go through these restructurings and and getting these different opportunities and meeting new people and leading new people with everything that you've learned throughout your career, and maybe even once you've had the diagnosis of with the ADHD and the anxiety too, like how has that impacted how you lead and how you really focus on empowerment?
Yeah. So you kind of mentioned the biggest thing that I think I've experienced at Zapier in my current company is that we've gone through so much change, and this includes like different restructuring. Um, there was it was only 1 year into being at Zapier where the team that I was initially hired on to, which had been dissolved. However, like they did give us an opportunity to laterally move to other like support teams or like apply for other internal positions at the company too.
That's good.
So there was only one person that I think like departed from the restructuring.
Oh,
Otherwise, everyone, it was like 20 something of us, can't remember the exact number, like went to different support teams, like lateral positions, or like a couple others. Like I think one person like moved to our learning and development team, which is really awesome. And someone became like a trainer. And yeah, it was really nice that we were able to like create these opportunities for people to go into other roles. So this was a really confusing time in my life too. Actually, so this was about 2 years ago now. And not only were our whole team was like, what job are we going to be doing? It was right before a company retreat, the first one that was happening like since before COVID. So like we all showed up to our company retreat, and I kept saying my badge should have said like hire me because I was like, I don't know what my next role is going to be here. And also something I was personally going through was I was making the move to Colorado. So not
oh
only
wow.
I didn't know what my job was going to be, for like a month, I also was like moving states. So there was just like, I had no stability whatsoever. And like, that was really tough. But one of the first things that I was just focusing on was like ensuring my team members were able to find their next new role, whether that was like a lateral move or that they were applying for other internal positions that were open. That was like the number one important thing to me. And I was like, I'll figure out where I go. I don't know. Even though that was kind of stressful too. But so I think the piece that I was really fighting for my team and empowering them to like make these decisions based on like what was best for their career development too. And one of the things that happened with a team member of mine, she was going to be applying for Premier Support. That's the team I'm now on. That's where I landed. But everyone was a level above than what she was. So they were just offering her to laterally move, but the entire rest of the team was operating at this level 3 essentially. And we were like, all right, well, the most fair way to assess a level is like, can we re-interview you for this position and determine your skills and your level on that? So I feel like if it wasn't for us really advocating for that like interview and reassessment, like they could have gone to this team and maybe been underpaid for what they were doing.
Wow.
So
Good for
and
you.
wouldn't have had that opportunity maybe like a year into being in that new team. So I was making sure that they got through the finish line for that, and were able to all successfully level up and come onto this team. So that was great.
Oh my gosh. Cheryl, holy cow. Like, hats off to you, because not only is that something that you have to navigate those situations so carefully, but a lot of people just don't. And they tell them that they'll just hope for the best, or it is what it is. And
Mm-hmm.
and those sorts of things, like money, I mean, that's why we work. Like, that truly is like one of the number one reasons why we're here. And it's such a bummer when leadership doesn't recognize that, like, this has to happen this way. You have to pay people equally if they are doing the same job. And the longer that you wait to address it, the bigger ethical things creep up along the way. And also just like morale and engagement. And usually people just end up leaving because they feel undervalued. And money conversations suck and they are hard, and you have to approach it strategically. And having an advocate is the best thing that any employee can have going into those conversations, because they know that they're not alone in their feelings of their worth. You are telling them you are worthy of this, you are capable of this, and you deserve this. And I feel like that has so much weight, and that kind of like lives with you then for a while.
Oh yeah, definitely. And like, I was really fortunate that this individual like got to stay with me through this move too. And she was probably the person that I managed the longest at any company.
Really? Oh,
And
that's so cool.
yeah, and recently just moved to a different team. Like, great career progression for her. So that was really awesome. I loved like the relationship we had and the rapport we built. But like, that's like one awesome relationship I've had. But I've also like had a lot of other individuals I've managed, like maybe for a short period of time or a longer period of time. But it is pretty crazy. I think I've probably managed around like 20 different people in the span of just 3 years. And
Wow.
myself have had like 5 different managers too in 3 years. So it's like
Holy
a lot
cow.
of change. And
Yeah.
like, I mean, there's only so many months in those 3 years. Like, it takes, I don't know, a good 2 to 3 months to really build some rapport with a new person, whether that's your new manager or someone you're managing. And like, it's super crucial to like get to know them during that time period and really understand what they want so you can help them be successful as well. And
yeah.
so like that one individual who, you know, we had a really great conversation at the beginning of this year and was like, hey, I think you're kind of at your limit in this current role. Like, what do you want to start thinking about, like, outside of this role? Like, what is your dream job? Does that exist here? Could it exist here? Could it exist elsewhere? Like, really thinking outside the box there, and like how to use her skills and her strengths. So I've loved seeing, like, especially the women I've managed to like really blossom and grow and like go to these different roles and departments, and it's been really awesome to see that growth.
Dang, I feel like so much of that has to do with you, Cheryl. I mean, it is hard to find a true leader that is your advocate and is your cheerleader and acknowledges when there are opportunities for you to grow outside of where you are, and into different areas, or if they bring something up, giving them the tools that they need to explore and question and determine if it's right for them. Like, that doesn't happen very often. And the fact that you're giving all of these people in so many different levels of change around you stability and hope for what leaders could be, then like when it's their turn, if they decide to go into a path that is a leadership path, you've set such a great example for them, because they know that it's possible, and they felt your warmth and your care and your concern and your appreciation along the way. So that's awesome.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Yeah. And I hope those are the conversations I can still have and like, really advocate for my team too, who like some of them are, have been like, we have similar situations and can relate that way. And that's why I think we've had like really good rapport as well. Like people feel confident that they can come to me with like their specific struggles, especially if they are neurodivergent too. Like I can relate to that and be able to like come like approach their situation or the like blocker that they have from that perspective as well. Which is, I think, been truly like a gift that I've been able to like recognize those specific pieces too. Cause even if one of my team members is neurodivergent as well, we're on completely different journeys or pathways that like maybe we're diagnosed at different times in our lives and are still trying to recognize what are the pieces that really make us tick.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that you said that they feel confident enough to come to you for these things, but also they feel safe enough to come to you for these things. And confidence, I think, comes from a solid foundation and having those conversations about neurodiversity and your brain needing something different is such a vulnerable thing to do. And I'm just really happy that you are someone that decided to trust yourself and dive into this leadership space, because it's obvious that you are providing a really incredible value to these people throughout their career journeys and lives. So that's great.
Yeah. It's very rewarding, and I'm super glad that like I can help people through like their accomplishments and their battles too. So that's been really great. And that's what feels like I think one of the best things a manager asked me is like at the end of the week, like, what is the one thing that you just really enjoy? What's like the best thing you love about your job? And this is still true. Like my one-on-ones with my team members are what I love the most. Like hearing about what's going well for them, like them being able to bring up the most important topics to work through, like they're why I want to keep working and ensure that they are set up for success. So
I love it. And now you're doing this with a group of people. You're the ERG program that you're a part of at Zapier as well. So you're able to spread this sort of like leadership mentality even farther from your direct team.
Yeah, that's been really exciting. So I kind of mentioned earlier too, our Empower ERG for women and allies at Zapier. I had been a member, I guess most of the time that I had been at Zapier, and at the end of last year, they had like applications open for committee members, or like committee leaders. And so I was like, I like being involved with this group and I'd love to connect with more people across than just support. And so I applied for the events and community lead and am that leader for this current year. And so it's been cool connecting with people outside of just support. I would like to say though, there are a couple of us on the leadership team from support. So that's been really awesome too. And also like the async discussions have been good. It's been really cool to coordinate with our other ERGs at Zapier as well. We have Prism, which is our LGBTQ plus ERG, and then BIPOC, which is which actually right now I'm collaborating with both the events lead to have this like intersectional event for all of our ERGs that kind of touches on like each different group. I think it's been really cool to be a part of this like great diverse melting pot at my company, which is also like a huge difference in why I wanted to be at the company I'm at right now, is because I worked with these small startups. They were 30 people or less, all based in Austin, essentially, and it's primarily white men. And now I work with a company of like 800, 900 people, I think, and we're across 40 different countries, which is awesome.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, I love being able to meet a lot of people from different places. And while we are remote, like I think that's why one of my favorite things of like being involved in ERGs is because I get to connect with other folks that aren't on my team that are across the globe as well in different departments, because otherwise sometimes you stay in your own little bubble in your own silo.
Yeah, and it's an easy trap to fall into, and the diversity aspect of things, I feel like for support, that is such a crucial component to be in a space that is inclusive, and to be in a space where you're talking to folks from all different backgrounds and places, because your customers are probably also coming from all different walks of life and locations and time zones and languages, and you need to embrace that because that's the reality.
Yes. Yeah. So actually, our support department has really, I mentioned we've gone through a lot of restructures, org changes, things like that. And also just like bigger changes too. We implemented live chat. We started utilizing more of like a schedule and a workforce management tool that really kind of drilled down our specific business needs and queue time. And so these were massive changes that like didn't just happen overnight. And so one of the things that we kind of felt a little disconnected on was like having like these core principles for our support department. So actually, as like an entire department, we came up with our principles and our vision together, and they like have just only been solidified like in the last month. So that's been nice to have something to rally around. And actually, so one of those is like one of our principles is be human. And like we're not robots. Granted, we work for an automation company to build the robot and to automate your work, but we're never wanting to like replace the human touch. Like we really want to be human. We want to show our personalities. We want to connect with our customers from all around the world as well. And like, I think one of the best things that did happen for our support department is having this live chat channel where we can even be more human. We can be more conversational. We can, ask how people's days are going. We can meet their level. I've seen wonderful conversations where gifts are like passed back and forth. Like that is being human and connecting with our customers and like seeing the real like resolution in time has been like awesome to see happen and see how our customers are happy too.
Yeah, and what like an obvious value add that that has to the customer experience. Like you are able to see real time what is going on with the customer's, trajectory, and how they started with the conversation confused, and by just having a regular conversation with someone to connect with them and meet them where they are, it has such a profound impact in how they perceive the company, but also just in general. I mean, there's nothing but positive things that can come out of those kind of conversations, and it sounds like you're really in a space that embraces that and recognizes, yeah, AI is here. Yeah, automation is a great thing, and it is a great thing because it makes you as a human do what you need to do better, which is important. One of the last things though that Cheryl, I did want to ask you is, like, you've gone through so many incredible things that you are doing and working on and involved in, and the journey that you've been on, and I think that it's always important to kind of recognize how big these things are that you are a part of. Like, they're time consuming, they're brain consuming too, and you've got a life outside of work. And so how are you navigating committees and your involvement in support driven and the leadership aspect of things? Like, how do you navigate that in just a regular day?
This is probably one of the hardest things because there is no perfect solution to the madness in my brain. And I think like each week is quite different. And I've really seen that recently. Like I've had weeks where I can't cope with it. And it's I'm breaking down crying and things like that. And I'm like very stressed out. And then there's some weeks where I'm like, I am so on top of it. Like, what's next? Like, I have some downtime. Like, so, and then there's the in the middle where I'm just like busy, 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 busy. But yeah, I think one of the things that I am really working on is like taking pressure off myself.
Yes.
Because I think the like, I mean, pressure in like a pressure cooker, like if I keep putting all this pressure on me, I'm going to like just explode, and that's what happens. So like giving myself more of a space to like make mistakes, and also recognizing that like my whole fear of failure, like if something is a failure, something doesn't go the way I hypothesized, maybe not seeing that as a failure and seeing that as like, this was just the outcome, but it was still a success in the way that like it happened. And now you get to learn from it. So like shifting that mindset, but I can't do it alone. And that's something that I really need the support from my peers, from my leaders, from my personal life, like my husband. Like I need that support and that valid, like that constant reminder of like, even if something doesn't work out, it's not like a complete failure. It's not a mess up. I have to tell myself constantly, I don't work in healthcare and I'm not a brain surgeon. Like, first of all, I can't deal with blood.
No.
Like I work in tech, I work with automation and workflows that really do power people's businesses and can make things, make or break. However, I'm not a brain surgeon, which I'm sorry to all you brain surgeons out there.
Oh, I mean, but you're also you're one person. You are part of the package. It is not all on your shoulders. And you're right. I mean, we are our own worst enemy in so many ways, and putting that pressure and responsibility of the success of others, which is kind of part of support in itself, but on such like a deeper level where it really can take over, but recognizing it and using it as a tool rather than a detriment to your success.
I think also like one of the things that I also am trying to recognize more too is that because I'm a leader and because I'm in support, I just have this huge like empathetic heart, and I can't always have that bursting at the seam. Like I'll need to look at some things like realistically and just have realistic expectations as well. And like, I can't do it all. As someone who has empathy, I'm like, I want to be there for you. I want to do this, but if I'm not taking care of myself too, like it's not going to be beneficial.
Yes. Oh my gosh. 1,000%. And just acknowledging it is truly like leaps and bounds from where so many others are. And having it just in the back of your mind, I'm sure has made a huge impact on just life.
Yes.
So Cheryl, I do like to end. Unfortunately, we are getting to the end of it, and I hate it because it's been such a lovely conversation, and I want to keep going. But
It's been amazing.
I'll have you back, or we just can talk all the time anyway. But I like to end all of these calls with asking my guests to think about what era they are in or what era they are entering. And Cheryl, what's your era?
Yeah, I think actually a lot of things that I've talked about today have really, and like the more recognizable things that I'm, sharing and pinpointing are like, it comes down to self-care. Like that's what I'm really trying to enter more of, and like giving myself grace, giving myself time off, like to not have to be productive all the time, to have rest and downtime. So yeah, self-care, stepping away, like disconnecting from what is stressing me out, going for that run or going out into the mountains, things like that, like something that is just going to like revitalize my soul and like have that form of self-care.
Yes. What an awesome, awesome, awesome era to be entering, and well-deserved. And it's going to probably just hopefully trickle into every era that you enter for the rest of your life because you're creating those resources and foundations for it. But dang, yeah, I am excited for you to be able to just like be and not have to always have a purpose in every single action that you make. It's a personal problem for myself that my therapist is trying to help me work through. So I feel you completely. But that's so awesome. I'm excited for you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I really loved talking about all these different topics. I feel like I could just keep going on and on as well.
Same. No, Cheryl, truly, this has been a pleasure. And I'm so excited to have met you. And I'm pumped to just keep talking to you. And I hope that you have the best long weekend.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And can't wait to hear more of your podcast as well.
Thank you very much, Cheryl. Well, we'll be in touch soon. And thank you again, truly.
All right. Thanks, Sarah. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Epochal Growth. Cheryl's journey is a powerful reminder of how self-care and personal empowerment go hand in hand with effective leadership. Her insights on navigating neurodiversity, building trust, and advocating for her team offer valuable lessons for anyone looking to grow. If today's conversation inspired you, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share this episode with your network. Until next time, and remember, we can't wait around to see change happen. When you feel it in yourself that a better way exists, you owe it to yourself and those around you to try, because great things happen when you do. I'll see you next week. I'm Sarah Caminiti. This is Epochal Growth. Have a great day.